to talk to the senior NBA writer for ESPN and their vertical and scape. His name is Marc J. Spears, and he happens to be a very fun person to watch a game next to. Marc, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Marc?
Oh, man, I was supposed to go to Minneapolis, but my flight got canceled because of the weather there.
No.
I went home, man.
You back in Oaktown?
Yeah. Came back home. Got my hair cut and handsome again. My own bed and take a 6 a.m. flight to Minneapolis tomorrow.
I got you. I'm glad you stopped down for your boy for a minute. I'm serious about this because, man, you and I got a long history, but you've been on top of what the Mavericks have been doing with Nico and J. Kidd from the get-go. And I know you're not surprised, but I guess you're impressed with what this team has done so far?
Man, let me tell you how far I go back with those cats, man. I mean, I saw Jason Kidd in high school.
Yep, up there in California.
I still remember just how big a deal he was out here in the Bay. And San Jose State was playing UNLV, and he came to the game because UNLV was recruiting him. And it was like, everybody's like, oh, my goodness, it's Jason Kidd, right? And this was when he was playing for the Alameda High Pilots. I mean, St. Joseph's of Alameda Pilots. So, me and Jay go way back, and it's always some Bay love when I see him. He was messing with me because I had my San Jose State stuff on yesterday at shoot-around. And then Nico, you know what? Nico and I, we go back probably like 20 years, and he was actually the guy that helped me build a relationship with Kobe Bryant. You know, so, I know his whole family, his wife very well, my wife, and that's my dude, man. We got to be unbiased, right, covering people, but he's like a brother to me, man. So I'm like super ecstatic for both of them. I mean, if they, I don't know how Nico's not GM of the year.
Yeah, really.
On the move
after those moves. Hey, Marc, in particular, a lot of people don't understand the relationship of Kyrie Irving with Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison, and you understand it better than most. And again, that deserves some talk too, because Kyrie has basically found peace here in Dallas.
Yeah, no, I wrote about it a month ago, and Kai goes back with Kidd. Kidd told me that the Nike people pretty much let him know who was coming up, who was good. So he heard about him a while ago, and when he was in between jobs, they had a conversation where they got to know each other a lot more. Kyrie, certainly grew up watching him and having fond memories of him, and he calls him Big Bro. So they have this like big brother, little brother relationship, even though it's coach player, where there have been times where, Luka's been out and Big Bro tells him, hey, man, I need more from you tonight. I'll tame you down the next game, but tonight I need more. And Kai will give it to him. And in terms of his relationship with Nico, when he worked with Nike, he every once in a while they say, hey, you got to watch this kid. It wasn't too often, but they say, hey, you got to go to this high school camp and watch this kid. Kyrie was one of those kids. So he's known him since he was like 15. Certainly, you got to remember, Kyrie's first, significant shoe deal, or the longest one was with Nike. And certainly Nico had a hand in that. So I think they had a different kind of relationship with him. And to be completely honest, Kyrie's career was spiraling before that happened. And I know there were a lot of people who was like, oh, I should go to L.A. and reunite with LeBron. But I really think that Dallas was the perfect landing spot for him. And he also gave me an interesting quote where he said, hey, kind of I wish I knew then what I know now, more about the business of basketball. And I think he's kind of played his hand a lot better in Dallas. And now you see kind of the fruits of how we're just talking about him as a basketball player and not as much off the court.
We're talking to Marc J. Spears here on 105 Through the Fan. Not that I need to further your bona fides as a Hall of Famer, but you did call that explosive.
I ain't 3 Hall of Fame.
But you did call that explosive Anthony Edwards dunk before it happened. I will say that. And with that happening, like he was even better in Game 4. What was
How did you know that?
I was sitting right behind you, Mark.
Hey, I'm gonna reintroduce you to Mark real quick. To Reggie. Reggie looks exactly like Jaylen Brown. That's the doppelganger who was sitting over there with you.
He's right. He was sitting behind me. Hey, you gotta explain that story first. Like tell the listeners what happened.
Well, I mean, we're sitting over in the media section, and as Anthony Edwards gets the ball on that left wing, he starts taking a step, and Mark pops up out of his seat. I'm talking about he's ready to see something happen, and he was right because the next step was an elevation, and right after that, Anthony Edwards is flushing the ball through the hoop. But that's in a Game 3 loss. In Game 4, you don't see that explosion necessarily, but you do see him attack the basket. You see Karl Anthony Towns get going. Like, what was the shift for the Timberwolves here, and does that feel like a permanent one, or just did they find some shooting?
Man, I think this is a great fight, and if we're looking like this as a heavyweight fight, I think that Dallas has won the first 8 rounds, right? Mm-hmm. And in order for Minnesota to win this fight, it's a close scorecard. They got to knock them out, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Minnesota feels like we beat ourselves. It's interesting if you go look at some of the stats that ESPN Stats and Info has been giving us. This is like one of the closest margin series there's ever been. Every game has been close. Every game has come to the wire. There hasn't been any blowouts, right? Yeah. So Dallas could say the same thing about last night. Like, we could have won that game. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all been about execution. And the thing is, Karl Anthony Towns finally woke up, had a big game despite his foul trouble, which was somewhat surprising to me. Lively not being there certainly probably had an impact as well. Wouldn't be surprised if he missed another game. So there's that part. But I think for Dallas, man, they got to dig deep and get it done. Boston's resting, man. Boston's chilling. They're watching y'all play, eating chowder and lobster rolls.
Exactly.
Like, y'all got to fly to them. Everyone's just got to fly to them. They're chilling. Mm-hmm. And to me, nobody needs time off more right now than Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and can you talk about your time off, man? Yeah, exactly. Can you talk about the way you've seen Luka progress in his career, and also the way he's playing with Kyrie? It's like they seem to be as one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of figured Luka was pretty good at Real Madrid. You remember your own Dallas native, Anthony Randolph, was a teammate. So he was playing with Luka for a couple of years at Real Madrid, and I called him. I'm like, Ant, what do you see? And he's like, oh, he's special. Mm-hmm. He's good. He's the real deal. Anthony played in the NBA, played for the Warriors, played for the Mavericks. So he knows, right? Mm-hmm. Also played with LSU, go Tigers. That's another story. But so I'm not surprised he's this great, that he's a future Hall of Famer, that he's this special. But, this is a 5-man game. It's not a one-man game. It's not a one-on-one competition, and he needs somebody to accentuate him. Some may wonder, like, could Jalen or Brunson have been that guy? Perhaps. But that's not going to happen anymore, right? He's gone. But Kyrie is elite. Yes. And I think what Nico saw was the same way that Kyrie shined with LeBron James. I think he envisioned that taking place with Dallas. And so, I love seeing their growing camaraderie. I'm sure there's some stories behind the scenes that we may or may never know about their friendship and their, respect for each other. But they're really, really good together. They're almost like, Superman and Batman. They're just like two superheroes you got to respect.
Mm-hmm. We're talking to Marc J. Spears here. And Mark, I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Well, I wanted to get your
back, but yeah.
I wanted to get your impression of the Boston Celtics. They sweep.
Hey, I got to go say hi to my wife at some point today, right?
Yeah. She
I feel
know you done made it home.
I feel you. What was your impression of the Celtics as they sweep their way through the Eastern Conference Finals? I mean, those were also slugfests against the Pacers team that they were, viewed to be even better than.
Well, here's the thing. The Celtics' path to the finals is nothing like the Western Conference. The Western Conference was like watching, some 80s, bloodbath cage wrestling. Where remember those old ones where they had 20 dudes, Roddy Piper's in there, right? The Iron Sheiks in there, Kamala's in there, and they're all like beating each other up, right?
Yeah.
And Celtics are sitting outside just watching this. They're chilling. They're resting. They played 14 games and won 12 of them. In fact, I think they were bored. Right? They could have swept the whole thing, really, truly, especially with Halliburton out. And they're getting rest, and they're getting practice time with Porzingis if he's coming back. And that's the thing to me, like, with each passing day that neither one of these teams finished the series, and obviously Dallas has the upper hand, I think the advantage goes closer to the Boston Celtics.
I hear
you. They're getting more rest. They're getting more practice time. They're getting more time to heal injuries. And they're not going to go on a plane for another, 2 weeks.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Or a week and a half. They're going to be home a long time. That's advantageous. So that's why it's to me, Dallas got to get it done, man. You got to get it done tomorrow. And then now you see things like Lively get hurt. He's going to be okay. I assume he'll be okay. But he gets hurt. The key in the NBA Finals, the key to winning a championship to me is you got to be great, you got to be lucky, and you got to be healthy. And right now, your best player is playing on one leg. And if you want him to be great in the finals, I think he needs to rest.
These are words of wisdom.
He won't be great, but having a week off, if he wins tomorrow, he'll have the Mavs win tomorrow, he'll have 6 days off. That's a tremendous amount of time to get ready for the finals. And I think he and the Mavericks need that.
Mark, it's always a pleasure. You my guy, and there's a reason why you're an award-winning Hall of Famer, and always spitting the facts. Appreciate you, man, as usual. And I will see you.
Can I tell you my 2 Hall of Fames though?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the one you know?
Okay, I'll remember all these awards.
Hall of Fame.
Go ahead and tell me. The Naismith.
Yep. Naismith Memorial.
That's right.
Hall of Fame.
That's the one I know.
Valley Award. And I'm in the San Jose Eastside Union High School District.
Hey!
And that's the one closest to your heart. I already know that.
No, it's not.
He's the great Marc J. Spears. He's my guy. We've been going back since your days in the morning news.
Well, hey, I'll see you during the finals. I'm going to see you Saturday.
You're going to see me, hopefully, you never know when you see me. You'll probably see me before you think, probably Saturday.
What's the prediction? Am I seeing you Saturday or am I seeing you game 3?
You might see me tomorrow night, surprisingly. You just never know.
Oh, you going? Okay.
You never know. I feel like the Mavericks going to win this thing tomorrow night.
I know the people you know.
All right.
With his family.
Yep.
All right.